Good morning. Yesterday here at Cava Park Church, we were continuing our series on the life of Joseph in the book of Genesis. So, Murray, would you give us a little bit of a recap of what the sermon was about yesterday?
Genesis chapter 46, we talked about 46 through 47, 46, 28 through 47, 12. We talked about Joseph's reunion with his father Jacob after 22 years. And we talked about two things: the brokenness of life through sin, as is sort of evidence to us in the fact that they had to have a reunion after 22 years.
Right.
And the healing of life through resurrection hope, in that Joseph's appearing to his father Jacob is almost resurrection-like and is therefore a foreshadowing of Jesus' own resurrection and how that resurrection gives us hope in this life.
Okay. Yeah. Looking at those 2 points, for that first one, talking about brokenness, you used the illustration of how you had the chicken in your refrigerator that started a leak and it ruined everything. Explain to us how that's a picture of how pervasive sin is and how it's all the bad things we see in this world are as a result of that.
Yeah. Well, it's really true. When I opened up that refrigerator a couple of days after we had gotten that chicken, somehow the chicken had leaked and the juice had just sort of, I don't know another way to say it. It had just gone over everything, like into the cheese drawer and down onto the vegetables. And think of sin as another analogy. If you go into your garden after a year of not pulling weeds, and it's just everywhere. And sin has a way of creeping into every nook and cranny of our life and of God's created world, frustrating and ruining the world such that it needs redemption.
Yeah. Well, the good news of that is we not only see the effects of sin in that passage, but we also have great hope. As I often like to say, the Bible is not primarily about us and what we're to do, but it's primarily about Jesus and what He has already done. And how do we see the hope that we have in Jesus, the hope that we have in the gospel in that passage to make all those bad things untrue?
Yeah. So it's really interesting in this passage when Joseph, whom Jacob thought was dead, appears to his father. It is as if Joseph has been resurrected from the dead. And what Joseph's resurrection from the dead for Jacob leads Jacob to be able to do is two things. One, to be able to face his own death with hope and not despair. And secondly, to fulfill his primary purpose on earth, which is to be a blessing to all peoples. And so if Joseph's resurrection to Jacob is a picture of Jesus's the greater Joseph, Jesus's resurrection to us, then that gives us the same strength. It gives us the strength to face our own death, not without hope, but with hope. And it gives us strength to fulfill our primary purpose on earth, to be a blessing as we've been blessed to others.
Well, thank you. It's been a wonderful series, and we still have a few more weeks to go in it, but it's just been a great time to look at God's Word and to see Jesus more clearly in the hope that we have in Him.
Amen.
So thank you very much, Murray, and thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.